So we're just going to do one last song before we start the class. This is just to set the right mood. The song will be Jaya, Radha, Madhava. The lyrics are here, so feel free to follow along. And Jaya, Radha, Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya, Radha, Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yashoda Nandana, Braja Jana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krish Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I kind of wanted to give a little introduction, because I know we have some new people here. Ultimately, this is known as the Hare Krishna movement, or ISKCON. It's an international society for Krishna consciousness, where every individual can take to this scientific process of God realization or self-realization. It's not just a sentimental process or a religious practice that one has to join, follow, become part of the clan. But it's a very deep, ancient scientific process to follow. And therefore, it has wisdom that is universal, but also very in-depth, by which each individual can practice experimenting with consciousness and understanding that we're actually not these bodies, but we're spiritual beings. And therefore, the practice of yoga is meant to revive our original spiritual consciousness so that we can really come in touch with divinity, or we say with Krishna. That means the all-attractive one. And I'm going to be reading from the beautiful Bhagavad Gita today, where we'll expand the conversation. We're going to be diving in closer to the end of the Bhagavad Gita. It's a 5,000-year-old wisdom literature that teaches us about, what is the soul, what is the human condition all about, and what is this material existence that we're living in, and how to ultimately become happy. That's what we're all searching for, is happiness, joy. And usually we're directing our energy in places that ultimately don't satisfy us in a long-term basis. So the chapter will be from chapter 14, and I'm going to weave it in. We're going to be talking about the 3 modes of material nature. Some that know Sanskrit is called the gunas. And the context there will be that, has anyone watched The Matrix before? Matrix? We got a couple of people who've seen The Matrix. If you haven't watched it, you've probably heard about it. Ultimately, the context is that we're living in a virtual reality. And that could be a little bewildering for most people if they accept that, because then you say, what is the point of all of it if it's just a virtual reality? Ultimately, in the context of the 3 modes of material nature, we're going to start to understand that from the perspective of the Matrix, that this temporary world, it's always changing, fluctuating. Nothing is permanent. And within the virtual reality or the material world, there's an intelligent designer behind this existence, where if you're into IT, you probably know about coding, programming, making a certain script to have play out a certain affairs. I don't know, you guys probably know better than me. I'm not in IT, but I've heard a little bit about it. And ultimately, within this material existence, there's certain laws that are set in place. One is karma. That means for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We say it's a 3rd law of nature. Isaac Newton kind of proclaimed that. And but it's been around a lot longer than Isaac Newton. Karma is one of these universal principles. And then, so karma, there's the eternal time factor, there's the living entities within this material existence, then there's the gunas. These are these 3 modes of material nature. We'll say sattva gun, rajagun, and tamagun. This is known as goodness, passion, and ignorance. These are some laws that are in place that affect the living entities within the material existence. And they fluctuate up and down. Sometimes the mode of goodness leads towards enlightenment, a clear conscience, activities which uplift the human spirit. Mode of passion is like, I gotta go, it's never enough. You know, always trying to climb a mountain, but you could give like a modern definition. You know, in a car, you're just burning rubber, you're spinning the wheels, but it looks like you're doing something, but you're actually not going anywhere. It's just go, go, go. And then the mode of ignorance is more like inertia. I'm lazy, I don't have any determination, vigor. It's just a little like slothish mentality. And therefore, these three modes of nature affect us living entities in a great way. It's always fluctuating between goodness. Sometimes goodness is prominent in our lives, and then sometimes passion overtakes that goodness, and then sometimes ignorance takes over passion and goodness, so on and so forth. They're always in flux like this. But we're going to get into the context beyond the modes of nature, how to actually become freed from this, these binding effects within the material existence. And ultimately, in the context of the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna kind of gives the clear answer of how to rise above these modes, or the feature of what we're experiencing here, which is, I'm going to give some Sanskrit here. So it says, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati jaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. That how to get over the gunas is actually through the process of bhakti yoga. Is if we recognize that this is a virtual reality, and therefore within that premise there's an intelligent designer beyond that. There's someone above, putting in the scripts and making the system. He's kind of aloof from it, but the system is in place for the refinement of the jiva souls, or the living entities within the material existence. Ultimately, every single experience we're meant to extract something from, but also refine our intention. Sometimes we'll give the example of a prison house within society. Is it necessary to build a prison? Maybe, because there's some wayward souls, or we have independent freedom to kind of choose what we like to do, or express our free will, or try to attain some enjoyment. So similarly, this material creation is designed in such a way so that we can aspire or lead towards a sense of satisfaction or joy, but it's separate from our original divine source. And therefore, the process of yoga is to reawaken that understanding of, I'm a part of something sublime, something spiritual, God ultimately. And these three modes of nature really only affect us. Within the context of that there's sometimes, people have probably heard of the word avatar before. What does the word avatar mean? Okay, one at a time, sorry.
Your daughter.
My daughter's name is Avatar also, but that's not what we're going for. What is it? Incarnation. You said something, Prabhu?
A form.
A form. Avatar. So here, Prabhu. Descendant. Yeah, so ultimately, Avatar, it's not the movie. Most people think of these big 8-foot tall blue creatures. They're living on Pandora or whatever it's called. But that's not what an avatar is. In the Sanskrit, avatar means one who descends from a higher reality down to a lower. And in every yuga, there's 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. Okay, you guys already know all this stuff. So these are 4 ages, and these are in the Vedas, which are the oldest known wisdom literatures and the most vast known to mankind. It talks about these massive periods of time that each yuga fits in. It's just a big, large time frame. And right now we're in the age of Kali Yuga. And in a previous yuga, it was Dwarpa, previous Treta, then Satya. And in each yuga, there's an avatar who descends, who comes down to this realm. For what purpose? Everyone probably knows this verse if they're from India, or if they've watched the Mahabharata. It's the Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyudanama Dharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham. That whenever there's like a decline in spiritual principles or righteousness, we say religiosity within society, then a form of God comes. Or sometimes he sends his representatives to help elevate the consciousness of society. And in Satya Yuga, I'm quite sure that it was Nrsimhadev who came, the avatar who protects the devotees. And then in Treta Yuga, it was Lord Ram. Who came in Dwarpa Yuga? Anyone know? Krishna, yes. And then in Kali Yuga, who came in Kali Yuga?
Lord Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ki?
Jaya.
And there's also another feature, the Srimad Bhagavatam and Lord Buddha as well. But it's known as this age, there's going to be a golden avatar who comes and spreads, chants the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what we were doing earlier, singing, dancing, chanting these transcendental sound vibrations. So within that context of the three modes of material nature and an avatar who comes, that actually this avatar is not affected by the three modes of nature. Is Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vidi tatvatahatve tvakvateham punar janma naitimam iti suarchana. That he's actually transcendental to these three modes of material nature. Transcendental is a pretty far out word. When people, sometimes we kind of share the Bhagavad Gita on the streets, show them, say, this is some transcendental knowledge. People are like, what is that? And what does that, what is transcendental? It means that which is beyond the material world. That is which is beyond our perspective of reality. But that is which is also spiritual in nature, above the limitations of material existence. So within Kali Yuga, there was this great avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came, who expressed that everyone should take to this process of God realization, which is chanting the holy names of the Lord. So we have the prescribed method for self-realization in this age. Do you guys want to try it? Yeah. What, kind of? Some of you don't?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it. Do you guys want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, it goes like this. It's up here on the board if you can see it. So please repeat after me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Wow, you all look so self-realized now. So this is the genuine process to actual self-realization. We say that there's many different limbs of the yoga practice. Some people think of yoga, what's the modern day yoga like today? Or what's yoga mean? Oh, someone...
Some exercise.
Some exercise, yeah, it's trying to look fit, cool, have a healthy body. That's an aspect, or that's a limb of yoga, but it's meant to serve the body. And then there's other types of yoga, which is like pranayama, this breath work. It's breathing exercise, helps subdue the mind, really helps fix the mind on a single point, which is good. We're dealing with the mind, we're also dealing with the body. So these are aspects. But a lot of it actually, a lot of the modern day yoga neglects this mantra, or the spiritual need of the individual. So this is the practice of mantra. It's more subtle, but more potent as well as the physical aspect of yoga. So this is why we practice mantra meditation. And this is also intertwined with how to get freed from the bondage or the binding effects of the three gunas, the three modes of material nature. That these are really always pulling us down this way, that way. We almost say it's out of our control. Some people ask, how to get freed from the cycle of birth and death? People hear of karma, reincarnation, these things. How to get out of that cycle is through this process of bhakti yoga, which is intertwined with this chanting of God's name, but also the whole entire process of devotional service. It's a very dynamic process that's not just stagnant, that you just have to sit in one spot and that's all you do, just meditate on the self or internally. That it's actually a process of service or this loving, transcendental loving service towards God. And how do we know what is God, who is God, what God looks like? These are all actually described in the Vedas. It's very deep, but it's also very natural and easily accessible if one comes in contact with a bona fide process of self-realization. And anyone who's interested, it comes in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. This is like the ABCs of spiritual life that everyone can grasp and get the really overview and basics. And then after that, we'll move to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is more vast of a wisdom literature, but gets into the deeper spiritual subjects or the deeper spiritual reality. What's beyond the perception of this virtual reality? That's actually what we want to understand is if there is something beyond this temporary existence of birth, death, so on and so forth, these sort of sufferings that arise in the human condition, then they have to look towards the Vedas and then start to understand this spiritual nature, and this will help elevate the consciousness to the reality, the spiritual reality that's available to everyone who has a burning desire to approach towards it. From after the Srimad Bhagavatam will be the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this is the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is known as the avatar of this age. It's a very deep esoteric understanding. Does anyone know what the word esoteric means? Esoteric means a little harder to understand. There's very basic practices as well, but in the understanding of God, because Krishna recommended in the Bhagavad Gita that you surrender unto me, sarva dhamman pratitya mamekam sharanam vraja. That, just abandon all varieties of religion. We're taking this identity as I'm Hindu, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish, I'm Zoroastrian, whatever. But these are temporary identities as well. It's an affiliation with a certain thing. We're promoting that. We are eternal spirit souls, and we are eternal servants of God. And that is how we have to approach towards that. So, since no one actually got the understanding of the Bhagavad Gita from the previous age, it's been around for 5,000 years. Only now that this Bhagavad Gita, as it is really going far and wide across the globe. People are starting to take up to Krishna Bhakti, or transcendental loving devotional service to God. Is that Krishna had to show by his own principle. It says, Yad yadatradi shreshtas tatadi vatarojana sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate, that whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever examples he set, the whole world pursues. So he had to lead by example. And he came in the mood of a devotee, someone who's experiencing this transcendental bliss of the process of devotional service. And therefore, just spread love of God to the whole world through the chanting of God's names. If you have a name of God that one is chanting, you chant that. But if not, chant this Hare Krishna mantra, and you will see that there's instant reciprocation because God is on the transcendental platform. He's not different from his name, just like he's above the gunas. That you'll find this effect in the heart when one actually tries to give their attention to chanting the names of God, that they'll start to just become a self-realized soul. They'll really see what is the difference between the body, the mind, and the self, and therefore revive their true spiritual consciousness and connect to God in a very deep way. But then also, you know, if I just say this and then I'm like, okay, sayonara, see you later, have fun, enjoy practicing, what are you going to do? You're going to forget about it the next day, say, you know, how do I apply this principle here? So therefore, we have a community of practitioners who are trying to cultivate and enhance their understanding of the science of God and who we are. So therefore, we invite you all to come, because it's not a boring process also. It's the most ecstatic, enlivening, exciting adventure of life. We all want some excitement, some fun, some enjoyment. And as you guys will see, after kind of class and a little more Dunga presentation, we're going to have a big spiritual dance party, and everyone can dance some wild abandonment. And this is actually the recommended process in this age, because in the previous ages, it was so hard. You have to perform these great austerities to become self-realized or a liberated soul. In this age, it's so simple because we're a little dented. You know, we have some. We've all had some trauma or experiences in life that have, you know, left us jumbled up and so on. But this process to attain self-realization is this process of chanting, dancing, in ecstasy for the pleasure of the Supreme. So it'll go deeply within the philosophical understanding through the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which actually we have some nowadays, or today. It's a 9-volume set of the most esoteric and practical spiritual literature available in the modern age, knowing that God, he comes for an external reason, to help elevate the consciousness of society. But there's also an internal reason why an avatar descends. And this is where the Chaitanya Charitamrita leads towards, is that internal reason of God's deepest desires, ultimately to fulfill divine loving exchanges with Him, being the original source, and His parts and parcels. So I probably just blew your mind by saying that, because it's, you know, very, very deep. But also it's actually what the soul is yearning for. And I hope it makes some sense to everyone who's hearing it. This is the practice which we're going about and cultivating with one another. Also wanting to experience these loving exchanges that we're all searching for, to love and to be loved. And in the ultimate sense, it's that God-shaped hole in the heart, which is what's missing in life. We try to find it through the senses, through relationships, through great education and wealth. And we see that that doesn't satisfy the self. So therefore, try it out. Why not? You know, there's no hard and fast rules to it. The only thing is chant, dance, smile, and eat also as part of the process. We'll experience that after as well. So what do you guys think? Is it, you guys want to try it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to just make it quick, because I know that we have some other presentations there, and then we'll get to do some of the chanting. But maybe we have a couple minutes for reflections or questions, because there are some deep topics there as well.
Pointed at the speaker.
So please, anyone who has a question, because I don't want you guys to just like take this because I'm forcing my opinion on you or anything. We actually want to, we encourage questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And if there is, I got $100 in my wallet that I'll give you if it's a dumb question. So. I don't really have $100. We'll find something.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your wonderful class. When you said about virtual reality, I remember that Anityam Sukham Lokam. Anitya means like this is a temporary. Sukham means like this is we can find happiness like in this material world. When someone approached to Srila Prabhupada, he asked them, what is Maya? Prabhupada said in very simple language that which does not exist. Like, this is illusionary world which we are living. And when you said also something like how to stop the circle from birth and death, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, one who can understand my appearance upon leaving the body, he attains eternal abode. So the process is there, and we just need to follow it. And we know that many acharyas are following that, and then they just come to this material world just to teach us how to do devotional service. So this is just my reflection from today.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. That's wonderful. So yeah, it's a transcendental process, and it doesn't just stop at. Also, I kind of gave the prelude, but just chant, dance. But actually, after you experience that, the ecstatic bliss is you also share it with others. You call up a friend, say, "This is the most awesome thing I've ever experienced. Come on down to the Sunday feast." That it might be a culture shock for some because it's a whole new way of perceiving reality and diving in. But it's an international society. You'll see people from Ukraine, our friends who came. A lot of us grew up in Canada. All over the world, people are taking up to this process because it's universal, non-sectarian, and we experience the effects of it ourselves. So first you hear, then you repeat, you share with others. That's part of the process that actually enhances that joy and satisfaction, because we're all wandering about the material world just with no compass, and we don't know, what's the goal, where are we aiming towards. So this gives one the full picture of reality, not just the temporary reality. And when we see that, and then we want to share it with others, we actually help them activate that internal GPS that goes back home, back towards Godhead. And thank you for that reflection. Hare Krishna. Maybe one more, and then we'll do the Mridanga activity. Mother Nandamani? And if one has one question, feel free to bring the questions in also.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for a very nice class. And I really loved the point that you made that in this age of Kali Yuga, we have the most simplest and the most sublime process of reaching, of obtaining the love of God. And this is simply by chanting, dancing, and taking prasadam. And the reason why it is so simple is because Lord Chaitanya has brought it, but Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is the most merciful one. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya, who came in the mood of Srimati Radharani, gave the most merciful method for us to obtain love of God. A lot of times we're being asked, how come we don't worship Radha Krishna on the altar? But actually, Radha Krishna is right there because it's Lord Chaitanya who is the combination of Krishna and Radharani.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's mercy personified. Thank you so much, Mother Nandamani.
Hare Krishna. Just wanted to add something. Somebody actually asked that question last week. He was asking, how come you guys never chant Radha in the temple, right? You're always chanting about Krishna. And I say, we actually chant Radha more than we chant Krishna. He said, really? He said, Hare, right? Hare is this is pretty much Radharani, right? Energy of the Lord, right? So we're chanting it, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nice. Yeah, and in this understanding that God is not just an energy, but God is actually a person, but a transcendental personality. You hear many sayings that we're made in the image of God, and that's true. But most people misinterpret that we're limited or so on. So that this eternal transcendental form of God is deep to understand, but also so satisfying to the soul when one starts to read here about it. So actually, we're going to be having a little sale today. We have volumes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's 9 volumes, and only for the small price of $140 for this most epic wisdom literature that you can get your hands on. Who doesn't have one? I'm sponsoring one for you.
Wow.
I'll start the game off. We're going to sponsor one for
His sister.
my sister. She raised her hand first. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not biased, but everyone was reluctant. They thought I was going to call them out. But if anyone else would like to take one, we have maybe only 5 sets in stock. So, but we can put them on back order too. And everyone should have one within their home, because if you want to actually understand the science of God, you can't just do it by speculating. You have to hear this transcendental science, and therefore one can understand. So, any takers? Start Prabhu! Haribo! Okay, no pressure, but I'm going to do a little countdown here. Krishna 10, Krishna 9, Krishna 8, Krishna 7, Krishna 6, Krishna 5, Krishna 4, Krishna 3, Krishna 2,
Come on.
Krishna 1.5, Krishna 1.25, Krishna 1, Krishna 1/8. Haribo! Okay, we got one for Shar Prabhu and Mother Branja. Hare Krishna. So thank you guys all so much for coming. And if you just didn't want to put your hands up, feel free to come see me after the class, and we'll set you up with your beautiful transcendental wisdom literature. And now is the time to do
Yeah,
some.
we're gonna have a little quiz, but we just need Krishna Seva Prabhu said we need a couple of minutes.
Okay, I can stall.
You can stop?
Okay.
But before you do, I'm just gonna ask, since the devotees are here, just to avoid time at the end, can we get a raise of hands, show of hands of who's planning on coming tomorrow? Just because we want to prepare enough prasadam for everybody to take. Okay, those of you who are making prasadam, can you take a look around the room and get an idea of how many do you think? 50, 60 or so?
You should target 100 regardless.
100 regardless. Okay, bring your friends. Krishna.
Things will change.
Okay. That's true, because some that aren't here tonight are going to be here tomorrow. Yeah, that's true.
So, any questions? Does anyone want to drop a big question? It can be anything. It doesn't have to be related to the talk. Just anything under the sun. We can give a perspective from the Vedic outlook on life. We'll take one question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Always good to see you and hear from you. I guess I love the way you contrasted having fun and bhakti yoga with austerity, but there are aspects to bhakti yoga that involve hardship, like, well, maybe I can use that word, but it's tougher than the others. Like, for example, Ekadashi fasting. So I was just wondering if you had any opinions on that, and when should you get involved in that also, because it might be tough at first, but you do enjoy it. Like once you, like say, fasted once, you enjoy the next meal much more. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so he was asking, this is a fun and natural process, but there's some austerity, which is you have to fast for twice a month. Ooh, very difficult. But it's not even full fast. It's fasting from grains, beans, lentils, some certain requirements like that. So there's a little austerity, but remember, we're yogis. We're not just whatever. We're actually yogis. There has to be some tapa or some austerity involved in it. And really, what's behind it? Behind the meaning is it's an opportunity to learn to reel the senses back a little bit, because the senses are all over the place. And they drag us all over the place. So therefore, when we practice this fasting, it helps us restrict the senses a little bit. We still get to eat some food and so on. And then if one likes that experience, then they can enhance their fasting and so on. But it's not so bad. And also, it's great for many other reasons, health reasons to fast. I've been hearing a lot about like intermediate fasting that people do every day, where they fast for 16 hours and then they'll they'll eat in their body weight. So, you can just try that. But yes, so it kind of seems easygoing. And actually, it's more delicious. Dr. Alex was telling me the other day that every day should be Ekadasi, and then twice a month we should eat normal food. Because we get these like special creations that come out on Ekadasi. So, thanks for that practical question, Prabhu. Do you still need a minute, Prabhu?
Yeah, a few more minutes, yeah?
Almost ready.
Okay, keep Prabhu real quick.
Okay, what
Wait,
literature?
1 second.
Pass it down.
What literature can we read for a beginner like me?
A beginner like you? Well, you're actually a very advanced soul, Prabhu. But good books for beginning. One is called The Science of Self-Realization. It's kind of like a conversation, more styled wisdom literature, but that gives the whole philosophy in one context, but also maybe more relatable topics, such as, what is a genuine spiritual teacher? What's Krishna and Christ? The name is the same. Kind of just like topics like this that help one understand. But really, the Bhagavad Gita. This covers the basis of all spiritual topics in essence. And as long as one understands the flow of the storyline, and it's a conversation between Arjuna, who's going through a perplexing situation in life, and he doesn't know what to do about it. I'm sure most of us has experienced that. Then it's very relatable to us nowadays. It's this timeless wisdom literature. So the Bhagavad Gita is, hands down, one of the best. But you come here and you can read it with us, and we'll give you more of the context and connect the dots. So I think we're ready here for a big fun game of transcendental trivia. So we will start with that. If you don't know the answers, then just play along. You'll learn a lot of new stuff. And it's going to be on spiritual subject matters. So thank you all so much for your patience and attention. And please forgive me if I said anything that was not relatable, but I hope you're able to extract something from it. So, Hare Krishna.
Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Shri Govardhan Ki Jai.